Hello, everybody. Welcome to JJSports podcast for another new episode today. I'm Joey,
I'm Josh.
and thank you for joining us today. The first topic today for you folks is basketball. And I had a hat, and I don't know where it went. So that's great. Whatever, I'll find it later. Oh, here it is. Okay, so today is a day of big trades, Josh. I don't know if you heard about this, but we got some monster trades that happened in the last 24 hours. Are you ready for this?
Let's do it.
Okay. And I guess the theme I could say technically is the Thunder, because the Thunder is associated with all three of them. Okay? So here's the first one. Ready for this? This one's like the smallest one right now. So hold on. So before I say this, Josh, you know the Lakers, who do you think was the biggest liability on the Lakers in their run? Who would you say?
Biggest liability?
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know that I could say.
Like who just kept missing all these shots all the time, you know?
I didn't follow them too deep in the playoffs.
Okay, I'll just tell you. So it was Danny Green. So,
yeah, like I was gonna say, he had that play at the end of Game 5, I think it was.
Yeah, we almost cost them the game. So yeah, so the OKC Thunder just traded Dennis Schroeder for Danny Green and their first round pick in this year's draft, which is like one of the latest ones. What do you think of this trade?
I don't know. I mean, I don't really like it. I'm a believer in Dennis Schroeder. I like the way he plays. I like his style. Danny Green is definitely going to bring, I think, a little more experience to that Thunder team. But I don't know. I like Schroeder more. And on top of that, the fact that even though it was a late draft pick in the first round, you never know. Like, there have been draft picks that have gone way later in all of sports that have come out to be some of the best of all time in all sports. I'm not a huge believer in this trade, but clearly the Thunder see something more in it than I'm sure most people do.
Right. So that's one trade. So hold on, let me stop the share. So, hopefully Oklahoma pulls out, they're not the only losers, So, but they actually had another trade, which even though they gave away another player, it actually seems like it might be a big win for them in the future. So another player they traded was Chris Paul, who was rumored to go to a few places, but he actually ended up getting traded to the Phoenix Suns in exchange for him and Admiral Nader in exchange for Kelly Oubre Jr., who you've heard of. He was on the Wizards. Ricky Rubio, who we all know. Ty Jerome, who I've heard of, and I don't know this other guy, and a first-round pick. So what do you think of this trade? Do you think OKC got a good return for Chris Paul, considering age, contract, and all that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't follow basketball is the sport that I follow the least out of the big four, but I am trying to get more into it. Now, I can't say I know too much about most of these guys except for really Ricky Rubio. But I do think that with Chris Paul aging is not as good. Still a great player, do not get me wrong, but not like vintage Chris Paul, the single star of the team like we saw. I feel like ever since he joined the Rockets and the likes of Harden and Capella and Eric Gordon at the time, and then moving over to OKC with other guys on that team, guys like Schroeder, I don't think that he'll return to being that single star himself. I think the Thunder got good value for this. Rubio, I know, a guy with a lot of experience, and especially a 2022 first-round pick could end up working out in their favor, especially after the fact that they just gave up one to the Lakers. But
Right, exactly. So,
but this comes a year later. So, but I don't know. Maybe you'd have a better draft. Maybe it's a deeper draft next year. Maybe there's a reason they traded for that specific year.
yeah.
I don't know. But I like the move overall.
All right, that's the second one. Now this one, Josh, I don't think you heard about this one. This is a monster trade. All right. So let me ask you a question. In the East, who's a team you thought could be so much better? They just need like one more real good player. Who's a team in the East that you feel like that?
Yeah, I was gonna say the Heat. I mean, they weren't so far away. Who knows?
Okay, anyone
Maybe
else?
finding the right guy or trading for the right guy
Yeah,
helped
but
them out.
anyone else? Anyone else come to mind?
On paper, maybe you could say the Nets, but
Okay, so I'm gonna stop you there. So,
yeah.
what do you think about the Bucks?
See, I
Because
don't think the Buck. Here's the deal. Like, I don't think the Bucks are one piece away. I think they have it, and they've just gotten incredibly unlucky.
well, what if
Um,
I told you they got not one but two pieces in two monster trades? Are you ready for this? They
let's hear it.
traded. They traded. Um, they traded for Drew Holiday and Bogdan Bogdanovic. Okay, and what they gave up, right? They gave to the Kings Dante DiVincenzo, who's like a rookie or second-year player, who's nothing crazy. DJ Wilson and Ursan Ilyasova, who, yeah, we all know him from the Sixers. He's pretty good, but like, he's very. I think I'd rather have Bogdanovich than him. And and for the and for the holiday trade, they traded Bledsoe and Hill, two guys who we thought were all right, but they were pretty old and they weren't as good defensively, you know? So now they have a great point guard
And
offensively.
three first round picks I see
Yeah,
underneath it.
sorry, yeah, and three first rounders. But that's what you need to get someone like Holiday because
Right.
besides AD, he's the best player they've had in a long time. So yeah, it was worth it for them. I mean, yeah, like what do you think of this? Is a monster deal, right? Think of that starting five. That's one of the best starting fives on paper I've ever heard of. You got Drew Holiday, Boban, Chris Middleton, Giannis, and Brook Lopez. I think
Yeah.
that's pretty monstrous. So yeah, maybe you thought they're not one team player away, but now they got two. They got two now. So what do you think of this? Does this move make them contenders? Like
I think
serious.
it definitely does. And I think that it's a smart time for them to do this considering the fact that Giannis is a free agent next year and that they might not end up re-signing him. There are going to be teams on the market that are just as close, not just as close, but maybe a little bit farther behind the Milwaukee Bucks are right now that are going to be willing to go out and pay someone like Giannis Antetokounmpo a lot of money to try and solidify their chances at a title. And I think that the Bucks definitely don't want to waste an opportunity like this. So I like the move for where they are now, and I'm sure that'll benefit the in the other way as well.
I see.
I mean, 3 first-round picks is you know,
That's a hefty price, you know. It's a
yeah,
little scary because what if it doesn't work out? Like you're just gonna be
right.
like they already did this with the Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce trade to Brooklyn. They sent 5 for Paul George to Clippers. So, you gotta hope this hits because
Yeah.
if you don't, Giannis is out. Like they're all in. So
Yep.
yeah,
Sounds like the Tampa Bay Lightning this past year,
yeah.
trading for everything. Want to solidify it. And look, they might be able to do it.
This might be it. This might be the year the Bucks win it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be a very fun finals. Okay, so I think we're ready to move on. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so now we're on to baseball, and while we didn't get all of them, the majority of the MLB award winners have been announced. So let's take a reaction to them, shall we?
Yes, sir.
So we got our MVPs and our Cy Youngs. So on the AL, we got Jose Abreu, which I'm not sure if I totally agree with. But on the NL, we got Freddie Freeman, which I have to 100% agree with on that one. That is a fantastic, fantastic choice. I think it's obvious. And I think with the Cy Youngs, it's even more obvious. I mean, when you think about when Shea Bieber did this year, like records, like he's just amazing in all of his stats.
I mean, he won the Triple Crown also.
Yeah, exactly. Like who has it? Who hasn't been done in a long time, And Trevor Bauer, while he didn't win the Triple Crown, he had outstanding stats, and he played on short rest, which a lot of starters don't usually do. But he
Yep.
did that a few times. So like, this guy's amazing. Like, hard to believe these both were products of the Cleveland system. Those guys have great pitchers. Bauer, Bieber, Clevenger, Kluber, very good stuff in their system. So you like all these? I personally feel like Abreu is not a lock. I feel like maybe could have went to Jose Ramirez, maybe DJ LeMahieu, but whatever. It is what it is, right? Yeah. Should we move on?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give my takes real quick. I don't think that I think Freeman was a no-brainer, and I think
Yeah,
that
yeah.
Bieber was a no-brainer. Like you mentioned, LeMahieu and Ramirez were not too far behind Jose Abreu. I am, Abreu definitely played like he deserved it this year. I mean, he led the AL in RBIs. I mean, he had 60, like that's right, literally an RBI a game on average that he had, and that's assuming he played in all 60 games. I don't know if he missed any. I'm sure most players played in all their games this past year, but I mean, he was great. He had 19 home runs. I mean, it's safe to say that he definitely deserved it, but I don't think it was as much a no-brainer as Freddie Freeman. I mean, his numbers were just absolutely disgusting.
Which is crazy because if you remember at the beginning of the season, he like had COVID and he thought he was like
he missed. I mean, like he missed the first no, he didn't miss any games.
No, but he was just like he
He
thought
was unsure. Yeah, I think that might be what really kept DJ LeMahieu out of this race a little bit, because had he played in those first 10 games, maybe he could have beaten out Abreu and some other stats.
I mean, yeah, that's the whole thing. Like, that some players are probably better than others, but if you have injuries or for some reason you can't play, like,
I mean, yeah, it happened. It happened with Christian Yelich last year. It was on pace. Then Cody Bellinger had a rockin' last month of the year. I mean, it can happen. It's clear.
Yeah, quickly in another sport, like Trevor Lawrence isn't playing, so I think he's better than Fields, but the fact that he's not playing, it hurts his case for a Heisman. So
for me, the toughest decision here was the NL Cy Young, and I don't think that anyone deserved it more than Bauer. That wasn't the shock. The shock for me was that DeGrom came in third. Now the wins, like I understand wins don't mean anything in baseball anymore. Like we need to establish that. Wins do not mean anything for pitchers right now. Wins are based on your offense. It's not necessarily based on your pitching and your defense, because similar to the way DeGrom showed in 2018 when he still lost more games than he won and had an ERA under 1 point, like whatever it was, well under 2, right? Like, and won the Cy Young. That shows like wins don't mean anything. Okay. Also, being that he had a tougher schedule to face than Darvish, Trevor Bauer was lights out. There's no question about that. I'm just a little shocked to see DeGrom come in third, but all three of them.
I'm not. Bauer and Darvish were phenomenal this year.
They were phenomenal, but I would make the argument that DeGrom should have gotten the second place over Darvish. I know that's not much to really fight over. I mean, like it's still not close to number one because Bauer really ran away with it, but still, that's just my opinion.
All right, how about we move on? Okay, so we got rookie and manager. So for the AL, we got Kyle Lewis, who that's not a surprise to me.
Not a surprise at all.
And we got NL, we got Devin Williams, which I was a little surprised about a little bit, but not too much.
Yeah, I was a little surprised about that also. I was definitely thinking, did Tatis play long enough last year?
I thought Tatis was his year, so I was a little confused myself. I guess
I wasn't sure if he played long enough last year to get it. Like, let's be realistic. I'm a Mets fan. I'm a big believer. I'm a huge fan of Alonso that he won it, but like I have to admit,
it should have been Tatis. If he wasn't injured, it would have been
a year. He would have won it hands down. No question.
I'm saying if he wasn't injured, if he played more, he would have won it. He
definitely would have won it. But I'm wondering if he also played long enough to.
I don't think he did, but I'm not sure. I'm a little confused. I don't know. Maybe they didn't want to give it.
I think he played around like half a season. I think that you only need like a certain amount of at bats.
I don't know the rules. But
even if he didn't, I'm a little shocked. I thought Alec Boehm was a little more deserving of it than Devin Williams. But I mean,
Alec Boehm on the Phillies, oh my, he's fantastic. I thought like if we're going for true rookies this year, then definitely Boehm I thought was much better. But that's a little.
I mean, like also he's a reliever. Like relievers are not too easy to come by when you get them lights out, especially like rookie of the year, like it says. But
although if you look at his microscopic ERA, that's phenomenal.
Right, that's phenomenal. But the question is also how long did he play? Like maybe he just broke the minimum amount.
Exactly. He probably played enough that it's that small. He didn't have right. But in the
I don't know too
managers,
much. Look, I didn't follow the Brewers at all really this year, so I'm not going to criticize Devin Williams. Maybe he really played a lot more games, but like I was leaning more toward Alec Boehm winning National League Rookie of the Year.
yeah, but managers for me is not a shock at all. We already talked about Kevin Cash. We don't need to keep hammering it out. He did a great job with not
Yep.
so much talent with so little money. Don Mattingly, well, in past years it might have been a surprise. This year, oh my God, what they did, having the COVID pandemic, him being sick himself, them having all this futility to freaking making the playoffs for the first time since they won the World Series. And they won a playoff series. They didn't just get ousted. They won a playoff series.
And not to mention that team was nowhere near playoff caliber on paper.
Yeah, but like Mattingly, I think it's a testament to how good Mattingly is as a manager. He knows how to utilize.
No, it's definitely.
Yeah. Okay. And now finally we got our Silver Sluggers and Gold Gloves. So I feel like the AL, no surprise here on anything, like on any of these positions. Although I don't know, I feel like outfield could have gone somewhere else than Eloy. That could just be me. I don't know. I feel like I don't know.
I'm
trying to think, but I feel like there's like someone like Kiermaier or
for a Silver Slugger.
Maybe not a Silver Slugger, but
that's the only one Eloy won. I mean,
I guess for the batting, yeah, I guess you know what? Never mind. I'll take it back. Yeah, sure, fine. But then, like, isn't slugging about hitting? So why couldn't maybe like Voit be considered for the first base slot? You know.
Well, I mean, it's Abreu won the MVP, so.
Oh, that's like a rule. Like, if you have to.
No, I don't think that's a rule. But I mean, because like if a pitcher wins the MVP, also, then like, oh, now you have to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's embarrassing if you. I got it.
So what were the stats of Voit? Like I know Voit had more home runs than Abreu, but he didn't have that many more, did he? I'm sure that Abreu had more RBIs. He had a higher batting average.
No, okay, I got it. Okay, and in the NL, this is very much not a surprise at all. Look at that outfield. Oh my God, that outfield
is absolutely terrifying. But I mean, the huge shock for me is that Donovan Solano won a silver.
I'd say I'd say it definitely was a shock technically, but his season this year was pretty
right. Like for his season,
that Giants team was the most surprising team between Solano and Yastrzemski.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that team was so interesting.
Yeah, it wasn't close. I mean, Solano.
I feel like we probably could give a second base Silver Slugger to someone else.
If you would have thought though that Donovan Solano, like before the season began,
last year I would not think of him
Solano to win a Silver Slugger, people would have called you a nut job. Like, let's be realistic here.
What does never mind. I was gonna say, what about Kike Hernandez, right? He's a second baseman. Like, wouldn't he be considered maybe? Like, he was pretty good batting this year. So like that, I feel like that's a person I put over him technically, but no, it's not a real shock. And then the Gold Gloves, this is your defensive skill. So Roberto Perez, I don't know. These are like a little confusing. Do you agree with these? Roberto Perez, Evan White, Isaiah Kinner-Falefa, like some of these are pretty. I don't know if I agree with all of these. Like, obviously, I'd give it to Gallo and Gordon and Robert, but I don't know about this infield. This infield seems a bit suspect to me. But what do you think?
You know, like we said, it's 2020, and I'm sure, like, you know, some of these.
I guess their stats were just outliers, you know.
Some of these guys are like new and onto the scene. Obviously, not Alex Gordon and Joey Gallo, who have been in the league for a couple years.
No, those aren't surprises. Those aren't.
But Cesar Hernandez has always had a plus glove. Like even back when he was with the Philadelphia Phillies, he was great. J.P. Crawford has always been known to have a good glove. And I mean, Luis Robert, Chicago cherished this guy because
they love him.
He's a generational type talent player.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because on the National League, I'm not surprised at all. Like maybe a little bit with Grisham and maybe Barnhart, but not really. Like everyone else though, I totally agree with. Like look at this: Betts, Baez, Arenado, Wong, Rizzo. Like that's phenomenal.
I have to say, for the American League, I am a little surprised that Andrelton Simmons didn't win a Gold Glove.
Yeah, I don't, or Marcus Semien, like I don't like it for the Silver Slugger.
No, like I'm not going to lose my mind if Crawford had a better year and they consider that, then Crawford had a better year. I would have heavily predicted Andrelton Simmons to win the Gold Glove at shortstop in the American League this past year.
Huh. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I mean, he's the best defensive shortstop, so it's
Yeah,
it,
Mookie Betts is a no-brainer.
yeah.
I'm a little shocked that Bellinger didn't get a Gold Glove though. I mean, the guy is like 6'5", six
Yeah,
four.
well, he had actually a pretty bad year in spite of all the playoff success.
Whoa, we're not talking about offense though. We're not talking about offense here. This is strictly defense.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why Grisham got it over. That is pretty much a shock to me.
Grisham did have a very nice year for the Padres. Like I'll say that maybe that factored in a little bit, and maybe you're right that they factored in Bellinger's play overall. I don't know, but if we're going strictly on defense, and that's what I believe it is,
I mean, I don't know how they do it. So, but yeah.
yeah.
And then
Baez is not a shocker. Arenado's the best fielding third baseman in baseball. He's the best third baseman in baseball. Forget about fielding. He is the best third baseman in baseball. It's not a question.
okay, and then finally we got the relievers of the year and the players' choice. So
Right.
this is not a shock at all for the AL. Oh my God, Liam Hendricks! Look at those stats.
He was nasty all year.
Not even a question. Although based on the same logic of the stats, I guess they had to give it to Williams for the NL. Right. And then they said for the Players' Choice Award, they gave it to Nelson Cruz. Well, I get, he has very great leadership qualities in the AL.
He's like the Justin Verlander of hitting.
He's the leader. He ages like better,
He gains talent with age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Freddie Freeman also, no brainer for the NL.
Yeah.
Like, dude, that dude is I feel like he could be like the face of that league, like him or like Betts or Soto, like one of those guys, like could definitely face. So yeah. And then we all know these. We got
postseason awards, but just to review, it's not a shocker. Rosarino won the ALCS MVP. Corey Seager won the NLCS MVP. Seager winning the World Series MVP.
Yeah, I didn't agree with that.
I didn't agree with that either. I thought that Kershaw and Muncy both deserved it over him.
I thought Muncy more, but yeah, that would have been great. Okay, I think that's all the baseball. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
All right. Okay, we're moving on to.
Oh, hold on. I do want to point one last thing out, though, and that we have a little bit of breaking news. Not so old, but it is new since we did our last podcast. And that is that both the Giants and Mets have signed 2 players to qualifying offers that were accepted. Kevin Gausman is back with the Giants, and Marcus Stroman is now back with the Mets.
They're the only players that have received a qualifying offer and accepted it.
Yeah, I think there were 5 players in total, and I think that
only 2.
3 of them. Who were the other 3? It was Real Muto, LeMahieu, and who was the last one?
I think it was Springer.
I don't think it was Springer.
Bauer. It was Bauer.
Right. Trevor Bauer. Knew it was someone obvious.
Yeah. So, hold on. What week in football is it?
This was just week 10.
Okay.
All right, guys. So we're going to do something a little bit different. Normally, we point out, 4, 5, 6 matchups we thought were very interesting, but we're going to change it up a little bit this week. We're going to start with the 2 matchups that interested us to the most, and then we're going to move on to something a little bit different, but not going to spoil that for you. Just going to keep it this way just so we don't surprise you and be like, hey, what happened? They messed up the regular routine. So, Joey.
Yeah, before we talk about 2 matchups, I just want to give honorable mentions quickly to the Detroit-Washington game. It was a banger. It was really weird. And the Chargers-Miami game, that was also really weird. Like, the defenses were pretty bad and the offenses were phenomenal. If anyone remembers that game. But the first game I want to talk about is the Bills-Cardinals. Oh, my God. This was a nail-biter to the end. Would you agree, Josh?
Absolutely. And I just want to say that when Stephon Diggs caught that touchdown in the
You thought it was over. You thought it was over.
I didn't think it was over, but I did not think that Murray – I thought, like, field goal, they take him down. But I did not think that Kyler Murray had it in him to pull off the play he did. It's not necessarily shocking that he scored a touchdown. It's like the pressure that he faced and that he still managed to.
That's like an Aaron Rodgers type play. Like,
I wouldn't say it's like an Aaron Rodgers type play. I mean, like they both.
What do you mean? He's getting heavily pressured in the last down, and it's a Hail Mary.
Well, I mean, like, here's the deal.
That's like the most Aaron
Murray
Rodgers
is
play.
way more mobile than Aaron Rodgers, so he makes it, I think, a little bit more realistic. Way more mobile. Like, Aaron Rodgers is aging, but he's still very mobile. Like, don't get me wrong. He's one of the best quarterbacks of all time. Like, there's no question about it. A lot of people really underestimated Kyler Murray, though, after last year coming into this year. And I think that, he's making the haters take back their words.
Yeah, it was insane. It was insane. Okay.
Here's the snap. Josh Allen going to get rid of it quickly. Throws it.
But yeah, like, I don't know if they're going to show that play. Are they?
Yeah, we won't get into it right now. Yeah, it's showing what else is there. Whatever. We don't need to go into this right now.
Those are the ones turning heads. Turning the table.
I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, whatever. I wanted to show that play, but whatever. Okay. So. Oh, here it is. Look.
And also a comeback win for the Cardinals as well. They were down like 17 to something at one point, I think.
Right. You think, oh, they're gonna have to pull a something out of their butt, to win this game, and then.
No, I mean, I really didn't think that was gonna have to happen, but I expected it to be a lot closer throughout the game overall.
Right. Here's the play, Josh. Look.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna get taken down there. It probably seems a lot more crazy just because it was a Hail Mary, like, in the end. But overall, I mean, like, we've seen guys make catches like that in non-Hail Mary situations. And
it's not even like a random guy,
Yeah, that's also true. I mean, like, when the Packers did it to the Cardinals in the playoffs to force OT, you had Jeff Janis.
Right?
Like, who the heck is Jeff Janis? You had guys like Nelson, James Jones, like Richard Rodgers on that team.
I guess all people, Lions, right?
The touchdown, like DeAndre Hopkins is a well-known name.
Like, everyone knows who that is, like, and the crazy part is that was the only touchdown. Like, that was his only.
Here's the snap.
So
I just want to say, and I know I'm probably gonna draw a lot of question marks to this, but in my opinion, DeAndre Hopkins is the best receiver in the game. I know a lot of people believe in Michael Thomas. Hopkins has been doing it for longer. I
would agree with you that he's better than Thomas, and
Hopkins' first 2-3 years were just as good as Michael Thomas, and now Thomas might not get as much. I mean, like, Thomas has come back. Yeah, he's also had to battle some injuries.
Listen, I would give you Thomas. I would give you Beckham. I'd even give you Brown. But there's no way in hell this guy is better than Julio Jones. Everybody thought the Falcons were going to suck, and the only reason they're still in it is because Julio is Julio. I think DeAndre could easily be number 2, but I do not think he's better than Julio Jones. I really do. I really think Julio's better.
Like I said, I'm probably going to draw a lot of question marks. I didn't think it'd be for Julio Jones, quite honestly. I think he's on the decline in his career. He's still great, but he's not vintage Julio Jones we saw.
And then you got to give it to Brown, maybe. I don't know.
Look, Antonio Brown just, like, messed his career up after what he did last year, so.
What he did?
What happened with him, not what he necessarily.
Which time? Okay.
Whatever. We're not going to get into that.
All right. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. So, yeah, nothing outstanding. 2 sacks on the Bills defense. That's not a shock at all. So, yeah, it's that was one game. And the other game is a game that made you and me very happy and the whole state of New York very happy. The Giants beat the Eagles. They exercised their demons of breaking an 8-game losing streak against the Philadelphia Eagles since their 2016 great season. They hadn't won since then. So let's talk about this. What do you want to talk about first? You want to talk about the defense? You want to talk about Jones? What do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about Daniel Jones, and just props to him on how he hasn't turned the ball over in 2 straight games against 2 of the better defenses in the NFL. Yes, I know. The football team and the Eagles are 2 teams record-wise this year. Yes, that's 100% true, but the defenses are not exactly
expensive. These games are very competitive, so.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is you look at his stats, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He actually had a touchdown. He almost had 2 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah,
for a stupid penalty. I'm like, wow, I think the dude redeemed himself against the Eagles.
It's kind of crazy how Daniel Jones still leads that team in rushing, I think.
He's their best running back, like Lamar Jackson. He's great. Best running back.
Yeah, but it's not like he barely rushes for. I mean, like, look, if a quarterback is running for like 60 yards a game, then that's
but what's really impressive is look at the difference in carries to yards between him and Gallman.
Yeah, that's true.
Gallman had more carries but less yards. That's ridiculous. It's absolutely insane. But Gallman had a great game himself. 2 rushing touchdowns. Like, I loved how they had like a system, right? Deep throw to Tate, deep throw to Shepard.
Every time.
Hand the ball off to Gallman. Deep throw to Ingram. Hand the ball off to Gallman. Like, they utilized every single player on the offense, and it was fantastic. The ball was spread very well, very well. Look at the targets. Pretty good of a ratio.
Yeah, like well split out between the top 2, which are Slayton and Shepard, and then you also
had a good number himself. And Ingram, while he didn't have as much, that's 3 is a lot for in the tight end because Eagles cover the tight end a lot more.
Right. Especially the fact that they like to incorporate Ingram in the end around.
Wait, you see? Also. You see that? Did you see that?
Yeah.
Look at that run. Look at that space, man. I love it
again. Yeah.
And I think
it's the second time he did it to the Eagles. Burned him first. He should have had a touchdown the first time.
Yeah, if he didn't fall, he would have. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Look, like I'm not crapping on the dude. Like maybe he lost his balance or something like that. Like I don't think
he just went too fast for himself because
Yeah, like something. Look, it happens sometimes. Like they make mistakes, and ultimately, like I know people are gonna say because that play would have won them the game because they only lost by 1 point. Well, guess what? The guy also. It's not like they didn't score. It's not like they didn't score a touchdown on that drive because they still scored.
They still scored, exactly. That's why I hate people talking about that play. They don't watch the rest of the play. It didn't cost them the game. They scored the next play. I think people just would have rather him make it. Also,
maybe add more time. Maybe there's more argument, but he still turned the ball over in the end. Look, whatever. It's not.
Yeah,
it is what it is at this point.
It doesn't matter because guess what? He redeemed himself by having a rushing touchdown against them, and he almost had 2, and he beat them. So I think he redeemed himself easily,
Daniel Jones now has only beaten teams. What's it called? He's only beaten one other team outside his division in his career still. But I don't think that is something to be – I mean, like –
yeah, but he had no turnovers.
It doesn't matter if the guy doesn't play well. I mean, like, if he's deserving of winning, then, and he has been the last 2 weeks. He hasn't turned the ball over. He's been pretty accurate with his passings, right?
Yeah. He's limited. He had 100 rating, 100, and a QBR of 91.
He's limiting the sacks. He's starting to get a little more involved in the run game, and I think that's something smart. If the Giants have the ability to do that, Eli Manning was never a running quarterback. He was able to scramble here and there, but Daniel Jones is way, way more mobile than a guy like Eli Manning ever.
100%.
And that, like, it's a danger. I mean, like, you see it. They're starting to incorporate it more into the game, like the Ravens do with Jackson, like the Cardinals do with Murray.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Allen. Like, I'm not saying that Jones is necessarily faster or much slower than those guys because he's probably not fast.
He can handle his own. He can out.
But yeah, he can carry himself. I mean, like, if it works, like, why? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And
like it works. Like I think but like let's just quickly go to the defense just quickly. I think the defense had a pretty good game. Jabril Peppers and Trent Harris combined for a very monster sack, and Lawrence had a very good sack. I just love seeing like how these pieces we got for Odell, right? Like Lawrence, and stuff like that are already contributing. I'm very happy about that.
And Blake Martinez, as usual, up there on the tackle board as well.
He had a lot. He had a lot of tackles.
Yep. Real Peppers. Did he have the most?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Logan Ryan played good coverage all game. He had that huge pass that he broke up.
Yeah.
On
And Peppers and Ryan both had a QB hit. They both got to him. They both had good pressures. So.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, Lawrence in fact
too. Getting in there. Leonard Williams
had 5 QB pressure hits.
Look, that defensive line it's a good
pretty good.
Like it's like we've been saying, the defense is not the problem for this Giants team. The problem is their offense, and it's not even because they have a lot of trouble scoring. It's because they turn the ball over so often with Daniel Jones.
Right, but I think that was the problem in the last few weeks. But the last 2 weeks, he's been looking pretty good, and now they have a bye week, so now they can work on all that.
Play with a lead, or.
Yeah. So
I don't think they were ever losing in this game to the
they
Eagles.
were leading the whole game.
They were leading the whole game.
And I told you, Josh, yesterday, my brother-in-law is from Philly. So I don't remember which one he said, but he said either, I can't believe the Eagles lost, or I said, I can't believe the Giants won. Like, he was so shocked.
I also just want to point out how the Giants didn't get shut out in a single quarter as well.
Yeah, look at if you could see on your screen, the Eagles got shut out in both the second and fourth quarter, and we scored a touchdown, or almost did. Like, we scored points every quarter. So, yeah, it was pretty good. Pretty good, if I have to say so myself. I mean, what else can you say? It was great. And then we have to give credit to the big man, Joe Judge. This guy is utilizing every part of his team, the special teams, the defense, and as much as he can with the offense. And he did pretty good. No turnovers. He got production out of his running backs. He got a lot of touches to his receivers, and even Daniel Jones got a touchdown rushing. So, yeah, his O-line blocked well. It was all just great. It was all great, It was great.
It could have been better had Thomas not taken the penalty. But you know what? It didn't hurt him.
It didn't hurt them, but at the time, you're like, oh, man, I hope this isn't one of those things that cost us the game, because in Dallas, we had a great fake trick play to Ingram, and that cost us, a little bit.
Right.
So, you don't be like, it's okay. Like, you got to stop with the stupid penalties, but whatever. It's fine.
He's a rookie. I think he'll pull it.
It's a growing pain, but yeah. Okay, so now we're going to do a new segment where we take a look at all the NFL teams in the league, and we try to pick one team from each conference, and we decide who has the greatest chance at making the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you want to do first, the AFC or the NFC?
Well, so we're each going to take one team. So you can pick your conference. I'll give you the honor of picking your team. If you want the NFC or the AFC.
So I'm going to pick the NFC, and I would love to say the Giants, but I'm not crazy. So let's see. I feel like I want to do something different. So I feel like most people are putting in the Buccaneers, because of all the Tom Brady hype, and some people are putting in the Saints. But I feel like they're very I don't think they have enough depth to make it. I feel like how like teams have a very good start, but they don't finish strong. I feel like those two teams are not in that area yet.
So you don't think that the Bucs are going to the playoffs? Or I don't know about the playoffs.
Oh, we didn't say playoffs.
Right. No, definitely to the Super Bowl, but you don't think that.
So I also would like to say the Packers, but I feel like their defense is a little thin. So I'm going to have to say, with a big shock, I'm going to say the Cardinals. I think what Cliff Kingsbury is doing is phenomenal. I think his defense is doing a pretty good job with Simmons and Budda Baker.
Absolutely.
Right? And
don't forget about guys like Patrick Peterson still.
Right, still, right? And then you have one of the best offenses in the league, I think. You got a stud in Fitzgerald still to this day. You got Kenyon Drake. You got Christian Kirk. You have other people I can't remember. You remind me. And, of course, D-Hop. So, Hopkins and Murray. I think this is I think this team can do it, I think their division is very close. I don't think I think the Seahawks have a great offense, but their defense isn't enough. I feel like they're not having an overall team. So I think they can beat them. I think the 49ers would have been good if they had their whole team, but they don't have their whole team, injuries and stuff. Right. And I think the Rams are a good team, but I feel like the Cardinals are just a little bit better. I just
want to point out how Arizona has the wins over every team but the Rams. I don't think they've played the Rams yet. I don't know if that's happened or not, but they've beaten Seattle once. And
let me tell you.
Yeah, they're about to play them on Thursday night again. Have they played the Rams yet? I don't think so.
No, they haven't played them at all.
They haven't played the Rams.
They haven't played them at all.
That's get the Rams twice in the next 3 weeks.
And yeah, so yeah, they'll probably beat everybody except the Giants, I hope.
Yeah, I mean,
but seriously, like they have a very good schedule coming up.
They do have a very good schedule. I mean, look, the Seahawks are not an easy team, but they pulled it off, and I think the Seahawks have kind of come down to earth a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, the back-to-back losses, so I think.
And I mean, let's also be real. Like the Seahawks could have won that game against the Cardinals, but penalties have really hurt them.
Yeah, but you can't play with no penalties. It's just unrealistic.
Exactly.
Like you hope it doesn't happen, but it's always gonna happen. It's like playing a hockey game and like, oh, we're gonna have no power plays, none. I hope we don't have any guys in the box. Like it's impossible. There's always someone in the box.
I mean, it's not impossible, but it's unlikely.
Oh, have you ever seen a game?
Have penalties in football than it is in hockey. You can't compare the two penalty-wise.
I'm just saying the status quo. It's just impossible to not have a game without someone in the box. It just never have you ever been in a game without someone in the box? I've never seen it before.
Yeah, I don't think I have either, but I'm sure there have been times.
Obviously, but I think the last time it happened was probably a very long time ago, you know? That's all I'm saying. Okay, so now would you like to pick AFC or you want to pick NFC and then we'll go to AFC?
I'm gonna pick AFC. I said that I think we should just go one team, and if you're confident that overall you wanted to do in the NFC that the Cardinals are your pick, then
okay. Oh, I misunderstood. Okay, so you're doing it just AFC and I'm doing just NFC.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Sure. Go ahead.
Unless you really want to do.
No, I don't care. Go ahead.
Yeah, gonna be a little bit of a dark horse pick.
Do you want me to slow down?
I'm a big believer right now in the Kansas City Chiefs. I know all the eyes are on the Pittsburgh Steelers at 9-0.
Right, the Steelers and the Bills, you know.
Right, the Bills. But look, I mean, the Bills, like, in no way, shape, or form do the Bills look bad with this loss. Obviously, it's not fun to lose on a Hail Mary, and obviously, like, they made it a close game, though. It wasn't exactly their game to lose, like, right away. You know what I mean? Like, it was a close game overall. The Cardinals are a top team in the NFC. Arguably, like you say, you think they have the best chance of going to the Super Bowl. So, but the Bills just aren't up there yet for me. I think that they still have a little more developing to do before they could really be called that contender. They're going to win that division hands down. I don't think it's going to be close. They only need like 2 or 3 more wins, and I don't think they have the hardest schedule coming up.
I mean, yeah, I think I have to agree with you. I mean, I will continue to count out the Steelers until they lose a game. I think they need a down-to-earth reality check. I don't think this team is going to do much in the playoffs. I mean, I'm not saying they're a bad team, but they haven't played a lot of like elite teams. You know, they played the Titans obviously and the Ravens, but like outside of that, they haven't played any like really good teams that they should lose to. Also, they played down to their competition a ton and they almost lose games a lot in the last few weeks. So they don't take anything seriously. So I need them to lose in order for me to consider them the winner. Yeah. But I think the same thing with the Bills, right? Like they all believe in their savior, Josh Allen, and that defense, you know, but they need a reality check. You know, I don't think they're ready yet. I think they're good.
Seattle is definitely on the road. They still have a winning
record. They're definitely up there. I just don't think they're there.
And
I think the Chiefs is a sure bet. Okay, besides the fact that they have a loss, so they have a reality check, so they know they can lose. Right. They're not cocky. Also, the fact that they have kept their whole team from last year, basically, like with -4 starters, right? And the fact that they have a guy who I probably thought was going to be the MVP, right? Like everyone thought for a long time it's going to be, you know, Rodgers or Wilson, right? But they've had reality checks. But like Mahomes, even in his loss, has been the best player in the field every game.
Yep.
You know?
Mahomes is definitely he's definitely a top 3 quarterback in the AFC, maybe even in the NFL right now. A lot of people think he's still too young, but look at what he's done.
He's already won an MVP in his first year for 50 touchdowns, and he won the Super Bowl in the second year. He probably won the Super Bowl in his first year, not for a bad penalty.
Yeah, like for you to say that he's not a top 5 quarterback in the NFL at this point is just absolutely ridiculous. That's my opinion. I don't think that you can really go much higher than he has, especially for just like 2.5 years. Now, with that being said, I barely talk about the Chiefs, so I'll give you my reasoning. They just came off a bye, right? You had a win the week before against the Panthers and a nail biter, right? But still, they're looking good. They look like they could be that Super Bowl contender and even champion again. Now, their schedule, right? The first half might have been a little bit weaker. I don't know if you want to scroll up just to kind of look at it. The Texans should,
we all knew
they were a good team on paper, but not as good as they were last year. Definitely a downgrade when you lost Hopkins. And David Johnson's a good running back, but he's not like the David Johnson we saw when he first entered the league. Then you had the Ravens and the Chargers, right? The Chargers was a surprising game. I really didn't think the Chargers were going to.
Yeah, because Herbert's debut was what it was, and it was very good. They almost won that game. So
yeah, I mean the Ravens. I didn't expect the Chiefs to lose that game, even in Baltimore. The Patriots game, I expected the Chiefs to really actually score more points. But then the Raiders were the reality check. They started off 4-0. The Raiders are not a fluke. People said, it was week 1, and then the Saints can't win in week 2. So they started 2-0, right? And then right after, like, they're hovering over 500 just barely. I don't think they're a fluke of a team. I like the Raiders.
they have a great.
I'll give an honorable. As a matter of fact, I'm going to give them an honorable mention right now. They're 6-3, right? And they're in good shape right now. Then the Bills, close game. It was in Buffalo, but, terrible, terrible weather. Like, that was really just going to come down to, I think, whoever made less mistakes, like, barring nature there. The Broncos, despite getting blown out, really the Chiefs offense didn't do so much. The Chiefs scored a lot on defense in that game. The Jets was a no-brainer. Everyone knew, almost everyone had to think the Jets were going to get killed that game. I'll be shocked if anyone didn't. The Panthers-Chiefs game was one of my favorite games last week. Not this past week, obviously in week 9. Definitely an entertaining game. And I mean, the Panthers, Joey Sly had the distance on that last kick. He just came nowhere close to the accuracy. I think that this is going to be the toughest game, honestly, for the entire season for them, because they lost to Oakland once, and I'm pretty sure
again. And this
one is in Oakland also.
This is for the division. Like, this is big.
No, it's not for the division, because the Raiders will still be like half a game or a game back. But I mean, looking at it now, the Chiefs don't exactly have an easy schedule. I mean, you have to play the Raiders. The Bucs have a very good defense. Then you get the Broncos, who we don't know what to make of them. They're very.
I think they'd win that game. Dolphins, they have a shot.
They've been playing convincing football. I mean, they've won 5 in a row. Like, they're hot right now.
That's true, but I don't know if it'll be the Chiefs. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's not impossible, but I still would favor the Chiefs, but I wouldn't be surprised because the Dolphins are fantastic. Same thing with the Saints. Think of the Saints. I do think the Falcons have been playing good football as of late.
I don't think the Falcons
are winning. They're not winning. They're not winning that game. And then the Chargers, it's tough to say, right? Like,
the Falcons might be the only team really with an offense that's of the same caliber as the Chiefs on paper, but they just can't play defense.
Yeah, they can't. They have no defense, right?
So if I had to make a final prediction for the Chiefs record, I'll say that they managed to beat the Raiders. I think that they'll want a little bit of revenge here. It's their only loss on the year. I'll say that they could beat the Bucs.
They'll probably be like.
I think that we'll see a 12-4, 13.
I was about to say 12-4. Yeah. So
I think we're either going to see them at 12-4, 13-3, and I'm going to make a really bold call right here. I think if they lose to the Dolphins, they go 12-4. If they beat the Dolphins, they go 13-3. That's what I think is going to happen.
So you're saying they're going to lose to the Raiders, the Dolphins, and who? The Buccaneers or the Saints?
Well, I mean, they already have one loss. So if they go 12-4,
right? They can't lose to both of them. They have to lose to one of them. Right. I think it's more realistic that they lose to the Raiders, the Buccaneers, and the Saints than the Dolphins.
And the Dolphins, right? That's why it's a bold prediction. But yeah, no, I want to give an honorable mention to the Raiders, for another team that's fighting down and fighting hard. I mean, they could end up with a wild card spot if things don't really end well in the AFC North with the Browns, the Ravens, and the Steelers, because the Bengals are well out of that division for contention at a possible wild card spot.
Right. Okay, so I think that's all been said, right? Is that correct?
Pretty much.
So I think we're ready to No, wait, hold on. What am I doing here? Sorry.
I'll also give a quick honorable mention to the Dolphins because I did mention 5 wins in a row and not exactly the crappiest of teams either. So it's going to be an interesting finish. The NFC, I thought the NFC wildcard race was going to be a lot closer than the AFC about 2-3 weeks ago. Now I've definitely changed my mind.
Really?
Well, I mean, the Dolphins are 6-3. The Patriots are playing good football now. The Browns and the Ravens are tied right now. The Raiders are playing good football. The Colts and the Titans are, really close neck and neck in that division, even though the Colts have the lead, but that could change too. Like, it's going to be a lot more of a shootout in the AFC than it is in the NFC, at least. In more divisions, at least. Because, yeah, whatever. I already gave my reason.
Okay, so we're done with football, right?
Yeah, let's move on to hockey.
All right, good idea. All right, so what's happening in hockey is 2 things. Before we go into our topic, let me just quickly say this: we have a presumed date for the start of the season. Do you want to guess what day that is, Josh?
Well, I know what day it is, so you could just
Okay, so I'll just put it. I'll just put it up here. So here it is. So so we thought it might be later, but just like basketball, they want to do it for January 1st. And do you
I
agree?
thought basketball wanted to start earlier.
Sorry, they wanted December 22nd, but I'm just saying they both wanted to be earlier than we would think. That's
Right.
all. So right, and this means that that would usually be the Winter Classic, but that and the All-Star game has been canceled, right? So they want to start New Year's Day. So do you think this is a good start date? Again, with the short rest and everything, for the same reasons as we said before, because of the other teams that weren't allowed, and also because of flexibility with the schedule, because you don't know what's going to happen with players, right? If you start earlier, that makes the schedules more flexible.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the reasons that I gave for basketball was because you had certain teams that had been out of it for a longer time, you know, and especially that, I don't remember if it was that you had longer time or it was shorter time, but basketball's an easier sport to recover from than playing hockey, at least. But, basketball's starting just a week before hockey, just a little bit over a week before hockey, at least for their projected start dates, December 22nd, January 1st, New Year's Day. So, I'm a believer, I'm excited, I'm also excited for basketball in case I didn't make that clear the last time. But I think that there's a little bit more to look forward to, in hockey this year, just because the draft, like I know the NBA draft has either concluded or has been going on the last couple of days, if I'm correct with that. I don't remember for sure.
No, Josh,
I think that it's actually kind of
Josh,
weird because
it didn't start yet. It's tomorrow.
oh, fine. So it's coming up. So I think that it's a little more exciting for the hockey season to start, or at least I am. One, because I'm more of a hockey fan than a basketball fan, but taking that into account, so there's no bias here, is that they kind of made it flow from the start of their offseason a little bit better. You had free agents getting signed right off the bat week one, from day one, right after this, right after it ended. And then after that, the NHL draft, not too far away. They spread it out over a couple days as they normally do. You had the entire first round one day, then rounds again, like after that. And now, training camps are starting up again. You're still seeing some free agents that are on the market and that have been getting signed and people trading. We'll get into that very shortly. That's going to be our topic for the day, the free agents left on the market. But overall, I think it's a great flow. Like you had it spread out a little bit more, so you're not getting too little information or too little news in, 1 month. And look, the season right now is going to start in like a month and a half. So, that gives, say, another like week and a half, 2 weeks, right, for I would predict some of the free agents left on the market to sign because some of them are a little bit higher end. And then, then it all starts. And especially another thing to be excited for, and this is, I think, the main reason is the draft in hockey was a lot deeper this past year than it's really ever been before, if not like that than in most years before. I think that, and we've spoken about that in previous episodes a lot. So we're not going to get into that, but just the overall idea. There's a lot of excitement coming into this season.
Okay, so I think we're ready to move on to our topic today, Josh.
Yes, sir.
So we agreed, free agents was great, draft was great, but there's still some free agents still on the market. So we're going to talk about them and we're going to see where we think they'd be best fitted. So at the top of the list is none other than Mike Hoffman. This is a guy who has some nice scoring touches in his game. I think I'm a little shocked he's still on the market at first, but then you look at his cap hit, right? That's a big contract for teams to do it when you have a strapped cap, it's like a dead cap era. So, you have to find a team that has enough cap space and could use a guy like that with his services. But this is a guy that's probably not going to get another long-term deal after this. So usually teams that have a lot of cap space are willing to do a deal like this because they want a 1 or 2 year deal. But Mike Hoffman realizes he's not going to get a big deal like this ever again. So he has to choose very wisely. He needs like a 4 or 5 year deal from someone who's willing to give him the money he deserves or he thinks he deserves. So what teams do you think could go for what teams do we think he'd be a good fit for?
I don't know, but I don't know if you remember, like when we planned this out, I think that we said that we were going to switch up the order. I think that you would take the odd number. So if you want to go ahead and make
There's
some predictions.
one. Yeah. Oh, okay. So I have to make a prediction. Okay, fine. But
Sure.
you'll do it. You'll do it for the next one, right?
Yeah. We'll switch off.
Okay. So this is what I was thinking, right? I was thinking, what's a team that might use that could use more offense, has the cap space, right? Has the cap space, like meaning like a cap hit every year of at least 5 million, right? That could maybe use his thing. So this is a little bit risky because of the years, but I think they have the money and I think they could use his skill. I think he should go to Detroit because Detroit has $10 million in cap space today. He'd only be a 5 million cap hit. You know, he might take a little bit of a bargain to play with Yzerman, you know, because he knows Yzerman's going to treat all his players well and he might like build up a contender with all those guys, but probably not. But still, like they can afford him though, right? They have 10 million cap space. They could pay half their caps to him, right? And if it doesn't work out, you know, he'll probably it's Yzerman. He's a smart guy. He'll probably figure out a way to get rid of the contract, but you know, like whatever. I think Detroit should go for him, you know? They could use a scorer. Yeah. So what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. You know, obviously barring the financial aspect of it that it's possible, then yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So now you.
Okay, so second one on the market, and I believe it's Mikael Granlund of the Nashville Predators, a center and left wing. He's 27 years old. He's about to hit the prime of his career, you know, maybe just into it because he's always been a good player since coming up. In 2019-20, his cap hit was at $5.75 million. And I liked his fit with the Nashville Predators. They had a lot of nice center depth, especially after bringing in Matt Duchene. They had Kyle Turris, but right now he's not on that team anymore. I think that they should re-sign Granlund to kind of bring back that depth, because then who else do you really want to put? You're not going to teach Forsberg, who's been a star winger his whole life, to play center. Arvidsson can play center, but he's not a guy I really want to see moving off either. You want to try to keep him online with Matt Duchene, and they also lost Craig Smith, who's not a center either. So I feel like Granlund's a guy you want to bring back. You know, it's definitely I'm not really going off whether or not they have the cap space. It's going off of more their needs. But you know, I think that bringing him back would definitely help their situation, despite the fact that they lost Turris to center depth and they've also lost Craig Smith.
That's a good point. That's a very, very good point. So that's what you think for that. So you think he should re-sign with Nashville, right?
With the Predators. Now, I'm not saying I said he's about to the prime of his career. I don't think that, you know, he necessarily needs to sign a massive contract. A guy like Panarin, who signed when he became 27 years old, and he signed one for 7 years and $11.5 million, because Granlund's not worth that money. But maybe take about like maybe a third of that, maybe like 2-3 years on a contract like that could help them if they want to try to stay as competitive as possible for the next couple of years.
Okay, so next player we have is Travis Hamonic. So he's a defenseman, right? So when you think of who's a team that just lost a big defenseman to free agency because of the money that could probably be willing to pay, well, it's a lot. It's not as much as other players on this list in terms of cap hit, around $4 million. So there's a team that has $6 million left in cap space, and they just lost a defenseman to free agency. Do you have a guess, Josh?
I'm going to guess St. Louis.
Well,
despite bringing in
how about the other team that lost their defenseman?
Winnipeg?
Well, how about the team that St. Louis just signed, right? They signed a player from a team.
Bruins, right.
Bruins, right. Bruins have $6 million in cap space. I think it'd be a perfect fit to replace Krug. Hamonic's pretty good himself, you know, especially if they lose Chara. I think they need to sign a defenseman if they lose Chara and like it's ridiculous, right?
Their top line I don't know if it's their top line, but like, you know,
that's their top pairing, you know. And if for some reason Boston doesn't want to do it, a good option I think would be Chicago or Philly. You know, they could always use another defenseman, especially since Chicago got rid of Mata and Philadelphia got rid of Schultz, I think, right? No, wait, that's Pittsburgh.
No, the Penguins did.
Yeah, but Philadelphia I think lost someone. Probably not, whatever. But yeah, like those are our teams maybe. Okay, your turn.
Okay, so number 4, Ilya Kovalchuk of the Washington Capitals. He's only worth $700,000 in his cap hit.
But he is 36.
Yeah, he's 36. But look, he's been a captain in the past. He knows what it takes to win. He's played on big stages. I don't know if he's ever won a Stanley Cup. I haven't followed him that much personally. I don't think so. I know he's come close. with the Devils. If I had to pick a place for him, I don't think Washington is the place he necessarily wants to go back for. I think they're trying to get a little bit younger, and especially being the fact that Ovechkin wants another contract for close to, I think, $10 million a year, maybe even 11. And he's not a free agent, but like coming up on that soon, and they're probably going to save up to try to afford him. Kuznetsov is still young, and he's going to get paid eventually. Backstrom is going to get paid eventually. I'm sure they're going to want Oshie back at some point. I don't think that Washington is the place to go for him. If he wants to try to win a cup, really, and with that money, I would say maybe a place like Colorado would be a good fit for him. I mean, Sakic is a very, very good GM. He's made huge moves for not too big a price to pay, really. And I mean, like, what he's built, and especially being the fact that they're already, in my opinion, a championship caliber team. Like, you guys know already, I've predicted Colorado to win the Stanley Cup this coming year. I think that it'd be a good fit for him. He adds some veteran leadership to that team, and he's not a bad player. Like, he still has some skill and a lot of talent, not a lot, but still talent to bring to a team. And I think that a young team like Colorado could benefit from some veteran presence like Ilya Kovalchuk, who's played at big stages before, a place that they're trying to get right now, which is deep into the playoffs.
Okay. So let's try to speed it up a little bit, just because like we're saying too much on our players. I think we should just say where they're going and why. But just quick point about Kovalchuk. Yeah, Kovalchuk. They have only $1.8 million in cap space, so that'd be a big like thing, you know, for them to take on. They'd be giving up half their cap space left, but yeah, I guess if it's their final piece to make a cup, it's worth it. So Eric Haula, good age, good cap hit, pretty good production too, as we know from the Vegas Golden Knights. And you know, I would have said the Rangers should go for someone like that if they didn't have like Strome, if they didn't resign Strome.
Yeah.
But if we're just going based on like a team that would need a veteran presence like that. Honestly, I don't know why, but like I feel like the Kings should probably go for him, because outside of Kopitar, like I know Byfield's like a big thing right now, but I don't know if they're ready to put Byfield in the starting lineup yet, you know? Like at least not on the second line. I don't know if he's top six ready, you know what I mean? I think he has to wait. I think they need a guy to like show him the ropes besides Kopitar. So I think Haula would be a good fit. And if not, then Byfield will be on the second line, and Haula, you know, could be a depth guy as of Vegas. So, and they have a ton of cap space. They have $13 million, so they could definitely pay him. Okay, next.
Yeah, Carl Soderberg of the Arizona Coyotes. He's 35 years old, $4.7 million, $4.75 million. Seems a little bit steep for him, in my opinion.
The age, yeah.
Yeah, but who knows? Maybe the Coyotes are. I don't know what their cap situation is, but like I said, I'm not really.
They have no cap.
They have no cap. Okay, so they can't afford to re-sign him. You know, maybe again, like you said, maybe the Kings then would be a good fit for him. You know, maybe he's a veteran.
Yeah, I say if they don't have Haula,
a guy like Byfield coming in. You know, he's a center also, so maybe show it to him. You know, Soderberg, despite his age, is still not a bad player, but.
Yeah, he'd be a good backup plan if they don't get Haula. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Duclair. So this one,
a little more expensive.
When it comes to Ottawa players, I really tend to believe that their owner's very cheap and he doesn't like to re-sign players. But looking at the cap hit and looking at their cap space, they have $12 million cap space. I think this is doable. I don't think the owner is going to mind paying a player this much. Like, it's not like
especially, like Anthony Duclair's a lot high. I feel like he's a very underrated player in the NHL.
Like I think he should be paid a little bit more than what it was, you know? So, yeah, I think why not? Okay.
Yeah, so Sammy Vatanen for the Carolina Hurricanes. Again, another young defenseman showing, you know, he could be a very good depth defensive piece. He could be a top 4 defenseman on a team. 4.875 seems about right for him. He's really consistent. He's a good offensive defenseman as well. He could quarterback a power play on either the first power play unit or the second power play unit. We've seen him do it before. I don't know what teams on the cap situation have, but honestly, like you said, maybe a team like Detroit. I mean, like maybe if they want to try to back end of that power play, then for sure, good move, young guy. Going on to a team that's built a little more around youth now, and with a great GM, probably the best of all time, in Steve Yzerman.
Right.
Definitely a good move.
And it's funny because the next guy, Athanasiou, I actually want to say the same. I think if they don't get these guys, they should go for Athanasiou as well because he's younger, he has less money, right? And he was just there in Detroit. He probably likes Stevie Y. He probably doesn't mind it, and he probably could come back. I feel why not, right?
And I think he also could have filed for arbitration too.
Right. Okay. Next.
Yeah, Derek Brassard. Again, not the same player he was back when he was with the Rangers in his first year in the Senators, but still a guy who's going to give you a little bit of production. He's become more of a fourth, third, or a high fourth line to a low end third line guy. I think the Islanders should really give him another shot. I don't know what their cap situation is. I don't think they have too much of it, especially.
It's not. It might not. It's not zero, but it's only like $2 million. I see, and they're probably. And I don't think they've done Barzal.
Yeah,
so yeah.
If they're really not going to try to do anything, then I don't think you lose anything by signing Brassard. I mean, he played well for them last year. Obviously, not from a scoring standpoint, not what he used to be, but he adds depth to that team, and it's a team that's not really built on many superstars, if any, really. I mean, Barzal is, but. For a team with just one player like that, and they battle hard. They play hard every game. That's more of the player Brassard has become. I think that he would fit nicely with the Islanders again, and I don't think it's really too much to ask for if they're not planning on doing anything else.
Okay, so Corey Perry, this is a tough one. I'm just going to say a few things quickly. Just I don't have a real answer for this because it's Corey Perry, a little older, a little cap hit. So I think any of these teams could pick him because of the cap space. You got let's see, San Jose, I guess, would be a fine. I don't think rivalry is into question at this point. Minnesota, I think would be fine, and I guess Florida if you really, but I don't think you go there. So I think Minnesota or San Jose. I think San Jose has a lot of guys that were injured, but now they're coming back. It's going to be exciting, so he might think about it. They might come back up in the ranks, or Minnesota, hockey town. So Minnesota. Okay, you.
Yeah, Zdeno Chara of the Boston Bruins. I think it's a no-brainer. I think that's where he has to go back to. Now, 43 years old. I think he's the oldest player in the NHL now, and I don't think it's
true. Yes.
Close. But, I mean, $2 million, the guy could still play. I just don't know if $2 million is necessarily – maybe you cut that in half maybe for his age right now because anything could happen still. But, look, for a guy who's still productive, I definitely don't think that he should retire right now if he really wants to give winning a cup another shot. And they have a type of team to do it, even without Pastrnak. They have incredible depth. They're coached really well, and they've got good players to support. So I think that Boston – I don't think he'll – be leaving Boston.
I think Matt Martin at this point just wants to get paid, so I think he'll go to a team like Columbus or Ottawa or New Jersey, but probably Columbus because they're trending upwards. I think he'd be a good top 6 guy for them. Okay.
Yeah, Connor Shear of the Pittsburgh Penguins. I'm still a believer in him. I always thought that he was a really, really good player. I think that the NHL could use more players like him. He could be gritty and he could be, he could be really crafty as well. I mean, we've seen it. The guy can score. The guy could fly. He's one of the fastest skaters in the NHL. And I mean, it's also he's one of the more underrated players in the NHL. I feel like after he got shipped off to Buffalo after winning some titles with the Penguins back in 15-16 and 16-17, that he kind of just fell off the radar because he wasn't really on a team that was so great anymore. But I feel like to some extent he makes the guys he plays better around him, and Crosby, Malkin, Hornquist at the time, who's not there anymore. And at the same time, maybe he was also definitely getting better because of them. I think he's a good fit for Pittsburgh. I think he should stay with them. And I don't think $3 million is really too much to ask from him.
Okay, so I have Schneider, and this one's really annoying because he's a goalie, and I'm just thinking to myself, who really, really needs a goalie?
He's also 34 years old.
So I don't know,
and a free agent, because we saw the trade. Trading is one, but not to sign.
And since he's bought out, you could actually sign him for whatever.
Right.
So I don't know. I guess based on that, you could have a team like the Penguins give him a very cheap backup deal because he's a backup and they already got rid of Matt Murray. So
he probably wants to win too. The Penguins are still a competitive team.
Exactly. So I think you go to the Penguins. Okay. 2 more and we're done. Go ahead.
Yeah. Ron Hainsey, Not a big believer. Again, he's 39 years old, one of the older players
Yeah.
in the NHL.
He probably just stays put.
It's exactly as the description says. He's not really a guy needed piece. He's an underrated depth defenseman player who's not really going to play high end. He was with Ottawa, so he wasn't really recognized last year. Now, he's been with some good teams in the Penguins when they won the Cup and they traded for him, or when he was with the Maple Leafs in their second year of pulling that young core, and Matthews, Marner, and Nylander and Hyman all together. Maybe he's a guy who a team is looking for some veteran depth, and that's not really looking to necessarily be competitive. Maybe a team like the Kings would go after him. Maybe a team like or maybe a team that's really young and wants a depth piece like that kind of has it. Like maybe the Islanders right now. He's not going to be looking for money, in my opinion. I don't think that he's really deserving of too much. And the Islander, it'd be like almost he's a strictly defensive defenseman. So he's like a cheaper option to a guy like maybe if you're not going to keep around like Ryan Pulock. I think Pulock is better, but I think that Pulock's want for pay, I think, to come soon is going to be steeper than what Ron Hainsey would want. You never know.
Honestly, I'm looking, but just before I go into my last guy, just looking at all the ones on the bottom, I think all of them will re-sign with their team except for Jimmy Howard. I think he's as good as gone, and he should go to somewhere like Edmonton or something, like be a good back, like maybe, or something like that. I don't know. Some random team. I'm not really sure. Maybe Florida because, Bob's not working out. But yeah, my last guy is Michael Carlson. And while I don't care for him too much, the fact that one thing I do know about him is that he's able to play everything offensively. He could be a winger, a center, anything. And I think the fact that he can do all that, and he's a depth guy, and he's pretty cheap and he's not that old. I actually, believe it or not, I think the Rangers should go for someone like this. I really believe that.
Do they have the cap space too? Also,
they have $4 million in cap space. And this is only $2 million. So I think at this point, why not? Why not go for him? He's a good depth guy. He can help you, if you have any injuries, he can help mentor your guys probably.
He's also played on big stages. I think he's only missed the playoffs once. That was his past year. Other than that, though,
a lot of experience. That's very valuable,
He's also a penalty killer too. He plays on special teams.
And we love special teams. I mean, that's why we got Jack Johnson, right? So yeah, it could be a good addition to our penalty kill. Okay, I think that's it. So thank you for joining us, and
leave a like on the video.
Please like and subscribe, or don't. I don't really care, and have a good day. We'll see you next week.